Hello, my retro dudes. Rob here. There are a few audio glitches during this recording. I think I accidentally used the wrong mic input, so my audio is a bit off in this, but just wanted to give you a quick warning. I hope you enjoy the episode regardless. Thanks.
All right, welcome to Season 2, Episode 6 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I'm Hugh, and joining me is the Senior Technology Advisor to the Iowa Democratic Party, Rob.
Yeah, my bad, wrong button. It happens, right?
Yes. I have had many conversations with people in the past week about, like, how can you mess up something that seems so simple very, very easily. So I don't want to get into, like, a programming topic, but if you know anything about software development, trust me, this is like nothing about that was surprising. When I heard we built an app to count votes, I'm like, well, that thing's going down.
Yeah. There's a meme out there where it's a software QA person, software engineer, where it's like the story of the bug. Like someone reports the bug, and the software engineer is like, that's not possible. And then the QA person shows them the bug happening in real time, and the software engineer saying, wow, how is this possible? It shouldn't be, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, it's the revelation you have when you're writing code where, like, you know, you see some code that you wrote and your first reaction is like, how could this ever have worked? Have you ever had that reaction? Like, yeah, like, wow, we got lucky, this wasn't way worse.
Yeah. So what I'm assuming, I hope there's a good post. I'm sorry to go off topic here. I hope there's a good post-mortem story, and it turns out, like, well, we tested it on one model of Samsung Galaxy with one user logging in at one time.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be something like that. It's like, well, once two people tried using it, then it crashed.
Yeah, which is, we actually went, I won't go into it, but yep, same thing happened at work last week for me. I kept recording a bug to our software engineers, and they kept saying, no, it's not a bug, we tested ourselves. Like, I know. Get 14 people on it at once. You will see the bug. And sure enough, right. Yeah. But what have you been up to?
So I've been buying a bunch of games that I'll probably never have time to play. Somewhere in our show notes, there's a link to this cool sale that PlayStation's having right now. It's called the Remaster and Retro Sale. It goes until the 21st. Yes, till February 21st. And it's like half off a ton of retro games. I don't know if you looked at this list, but like,
oh yeah,
all the arcade archive stuff. Sorry, I invented a new word again. All that stuff like Castlevania Collection, if that's your thing. Doom 1 and 2 are down to $250, same price they were on the Switch recently. And then Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy. So that's the 3 of the PlayStation 2 games. I think there's probably 5 Grand Theft Auto games on PlayStation 2, and this is 3 of them, and that's down to like $17 from $35.
I remember like Dig Dug and stuff like that was like $1, right?
Yeah. If you just want to get Dig Dug by itself, it's like $1. The one's kind of intriguing that I did not get yet is the Disney Afternoon Collection, which is down to $5 from $20. So that's 4 like NES games.
Mm-hmm. Really good. Most of them are really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, that kind of stuff. And then if you have a PS3, like a bunch of PS1 classics, which is just like a unaltered PS1 game, are down to $1 to $2 depending on the game. So I stockpiled a few games. Don't know when I'll get around to playing them all.
Now with PS5 being backwards compatible, I wonder if those games will just work on the PS5.
Yeah, I really wasn't thinking about it because I won't own a PS5 until at least 2021. That's the earliest I could see myself buying one.
Mm-hmm.
I almost never buy consoles at launch anymore.
I mean, they rarely have games, so it's like, why?
Yeah, and I'm not into like a lot of mainstream games, so I'm usually waiting till some bizarre title comes out before I buy it.
Yeah, I mean, in 10 years, you'll get the next East game when it finally
When it comes out.
gets translated.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be 10 years for East 9 to come out in America, and then another year for them to fix the translation. Is probably how it'll go down.
That is funny.
That's about it, man. What have you been up to?
My basement. So construction is done, but putting shelves together and putting a TV console together, getting the new projector working is just like crazy. I know my wife's probably getting pretty annoyed by how much time I've been spending down here not playing games. Um, and yeah, one thing that kind of was cool was I hooked up my Nintendo 64 to the projector and it did not work because now you could buy almost for every old console a HDMI adapter for it built for that console. Well, all of those put out either 240 or 480 lines, and yeah, my projector doesn't support that. So plugged in my M Classic, and it instantly upscaled, no lag, and looks great. So it's always nice when something actually works.
Yeah.
One thing I've been having trouble with though is my Dreamcast. So I hooked it up to my old projector before, and it just wasn't syncing correctly. Like it kept blinking out, and I just figured it was like, oh, compatibility thing with that projector, maybe that cable, something like that. Well, I have a new cable, have the M Classic, have a different projector, and it's still doing it. So I ordered a VGA cable to try that, see if that helps instead of trying to go HDMI. But if any of our listeners have had that kind of like your Dreamcast blinking out thing happen where it's almost like it's trying to sync, please let me know. I could use some tips on that. I need to know if it's my Dreamcast.
And you don't use VGA for the Dreamcast, obviously.
Not yet. So that cable should be in the mail today, actually. So I'll let you all know if VGA ends up working. But yeah, and then I finally got all that set up, and then my one of my video cards in my computer crapped out. So I spent all day yesterday fixing that. And I don't know if the listeners remember, but I had been complaining about Bluetooth coming down my computer while trying to use RetroArch. And while fixing the video stuff yesterday, I realized that my video card and my Bluetooth adapter were all conflicting with each other. So I felt like I was back in the days of plug and play Windows 95, but should be all sorted out now. So yeah, that was my all the stuff dealing with games but not playing with them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in that sort of purgatory where you're perpetually trying to tune how you play games and not actually playing them.
Yes, and hopefully by next week I'll be past that. And I actually played one night. I actually sat down here and played games, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I wanted to mention a YouTube channel that's kind of been distracting me lately. It's called Let's Game It Out, and it is this guy who plays like these theme park games or like this zoo. I guess you'd call it scenario, I don't know, whatever, game, and like stuff like Sims, where he just does the worst thing possible. So he just builds like these theme parks that are just death traps, but it's really funny because like people aren't complaining, they're just like still having fun while they're being like thrown from roller coasters and stuff. If you want a good laugh and you have that kind of sense of humor, this channel really made me laugh this week. So Let's Game It Out is what it's called. I don't know who the guy who does it at all. I just want to. Looks like he has almost 1 million subscribers, so he doesn't need our plug at all. But yeah, pretty funny stuff. But yeah, that was my. Well, actually, 2 weeks, right? Because last one was a filler episode.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for everyone for putting up with that.
Yes. One thing I should mention. I am having, of course, more computer problems. My mic keeps changing volumes over and over again, so if distorted or too quiet, I'm sorry. I'm going to be mixing this in post, but yeah, has a mind of its own right now. Yeah, we have a big episode ahead of us.
Yeah, let's dive right into all this news here. Arcade UK stamps.
Yeah, so Zach, thank you, Zach, who does all our social media stuff. He actually got his hands on these UK mail stamps that are arcade themed. So I just wanted to give a mention of those. He put them photos of them on our social media. So I don't know if there's like copyright issues with that. So if you guys don't find him, it means he's in some UK prison for stamp fraud.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, they're public, right?
I get, yeah. I just figured, like, I don't know.
Like, you can post a picture of like Parliament, right? I mean, it's a public thing, so I don't know. It's probably fine. I don't. We had, boys, a long time ago, we had like a collection of 80s stamps here in the U.S. Do you remember these? It was like a I love the 80s themed stamps.
I don't remember those.
Yeah, and I think there was at least one video game theme one in there. I own a set of these, I swear. And there was like, it was generic. It was like kids playing Atari kind of picture, but not like a whole series. So let's see. A previously untranslated PlayStation 1 game got a fan translation this week. It's a game called Brave Prove. Is that right?
Sounds like a bad translation of a title.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the actual title though, because it's in
oh yeah,
it's not in like regular text. It's like a graphic. So I'm guessing that's what they originally called the game. So looks kind of neat. It's a Data West game that it got kind of middle of the road reviews back in the day. But again, you've never been able to play it in the US. It sort of looks like I guess I'd say it looks like Legend of Oasis graphically.
Yeah, little bit like East, a little bit. Like the
little bit, yeah.
Stuff, yeah. I mean, there is a red hair anime person, so that's the first thing I thought of.
The first thing you think, yeah. So that's out there now over on romhacking.net. There is a new free indie game. I don't talk about every free indie game, but this one, it graphically looks a lot like Flashback, so I wanted to call it out. It's called Respite, and it's on Mac and Windows. And it's about, they describe it as being about a 10-minute point-and-click adventure game. But the graphics in this game took considerably longer than 10 minutes to make.
Yeah. I love the graphics in this. It's kind of a cell shading style, but yeah, I'm trying to think of what else this reminds me of. It looks really interesting. I guess you're a white-collar worker in Hong Kong that... I guess you're just trying to take a break from normal life?
Yeah, I feel like it might be a social commentary game.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if that's not your thing, don't play it. I don't really care. But
yeah.
I like the graphic style. That's why I was calling this one out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. We got, what else here? We got on Ars Technica a video of how Myst designers stuffed an entire universe into one single CD-ROM.
Mm-hmm.
And did you get a chance to look at this one?
I eyeballed it like almost 2 weeks ago. That's the problem. And I don't remember it especially well anymore.
Yeah.
It did have, I remember Myst has like some small video sequences. When I say small, I mean like they're low res, right?
Yeah. And the creator just talks about how they got the idea for it, and when the time was right to make it, it just kind of, everything just kind of fell into place, and it's a really great video to watch. I can't recommend it enough. If you're into video game history at all, yeah, just watch it. It'll be much more interesting than listening to me talk about it. But yeah, I mean, Myst was the, I guess, first multimedia game to really hit the mainstream, right?
Yeah, I would say like it in Seventh Guest. Sorry, I confused Seventh Guest and 11th Hour into one new
Hmm.
game.
Hmm. Yeah.
Seventh Guest came out around the same time too, but that had a lot more video. That was on multiple CDs when it was released.
Yeah, yeah, and this was on one CD on every system that had a CD. Pretty much had Myst. And back then you were working on uh, single speed, so it's
Hmm
150 kilobits a second. I mean, that was only twice as fast as a modem back then.
hmm
Kind
Yeah, not great load times, and you didn't typically have enough hard drive space to like dump the entire game to your hard drive.
no, no, you would dump like the executable, and that was about it. Yeah, really, really cool interview on Ars Technica. Um,
Mhm.
in
Next, from the bad headline department.
Yes, Atari is now building a video game themed hotel in the United States.
Mhm. Now, Atari is not building a hotel.
No,
Uh,
no, they
if they
licensed the
did,
name.
right, there'd be a crowdfunding project, and then in 5 years you'd hear some update about how we have like a crayon drawing of a hotel. This is they are licensing the Atari name to build Atari themed hotels. I assume they're just going to be generic video game themed hotels.
Yeah, there's gonna be like, I guess there's gonna be a spot for esports, like a public area. There's gonna be a for the male 40 and up. I'm using air quotes. A retro
Mhm.
area, and then each room is going to have like HDMI outs and stuff like that, or ins, I guess. So if you brought your console and you have to play it on that TV
Mhm.
in your room, and then I
Right, 'cause
guess there's going to be a little arcade in each one. But or I'm sorry, I guess there's going to be a VR experience in each hotel, kind of. I read that somewhere in here, but this isn't something the world needs. Like, as a gamer, when you're in a hotel room, do you think like, oh, I I need to play my games right now. I don't have a portable system on me ever.
uh, yeah, no, I usually would have a portable system. Um, I could see it in you know touristy places. That's about it for me. I mean, I could actually see like one being open in Vegas, and then you'd have a bunch of like casino games. Like that kind of makes sense. I could
Mm-hmm.
even see one in Orlando because there's a lot of days if you take your kids to Orlando, there's usually at least one day a week where it's monsoon rain and
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to the parks a lot. So having a hotel with like an arcade or Fortnite or whatever they're going to be doing there.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
this will be. You got one of those cities, right? Next, you
yeah,
got Vegas. Then there's Denver, Chicago, Austin, Seattle, San Francisco, and San Jose.
yeah. I don't know where it's going to go in Chicago. I mean, of course, it's very broad, right? That could mean anything.
Yeah, that's like the whole county. But I mean, Austin really like. I could never live in Austin because there's something going on every weekend. It's like worse than Vegas now, where it's like, do we need another thing here for tourists? I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah. See, I haven't been. I don't know if anyone's. I'm curious about Austin only because I know there's like there's obviously a ton of tech jobs out there. A lot of tech companies
hmm.
have moved to Austin. I'm curious if it's turning into like Seattle, where the infrastructure doesn't scale at the same rate as people moving there. Like how Seattle now has some of the worst traffic in the country. Like, is that
Hmm.
going to be Austin in a couple years or not? I don't know. I don't know if they have seen how other cities have grown that way and you know planned accordingly.
I mean, every time I've been there, it's been for a tourist function where the streets are pretty much closed. So
Hmm.
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, all I know is I can't stand the heat, so I'm probably not going to move there.
And if you do, you can stay at the Atari Hotel.
I can stay at the Atari Hotel. All right. Another deceptive headline: SNK making new Neo Geo hardware. Um, Similar to Atari, SNK is a brand.
Mhm.
It's not like SNK at this point. But hey, they've actually, whoever the rights owner is of this, they've actually been producing some pretty good stuff lately.
I trust them more than the people who own the Atari name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no details other than it's gonna be a new console, and it's not gonna be like a mini. And part of this is they're making a new Metal Slug, which, fine, the last one was in 2008. But, I mean, competition is good, but do we need another new console?
Yeah, I suspect it's not going to be like I suspect it's going to be something like the Neo Geo Mini. I really do. I don't think you're going to be finding. I don't think you're going to be selling it as something that people will be developing new games for.
Mm-hmm.
The article does mention that the Neo Geo Mini has sold far better than they expected.
I wonder how much they expected.
Well,
but yeah, they did a few runs of those actually.
mm-hmm. Well, again, if you make a mini system and you actually make it well, and it's not something that. So, like Sega, I know they had the Sega Genesis Mini, the new one. It's supposedly really awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and it went down to half price. Like I think it's already half of what the launch price was at most stores.
Yeah.
Because you can already get all those games. I have at least 10 Sega Genesis collections that have every single one of those games.
It was poorly timed, but a great system.
Yeah. So SNK, there was a big, period of time there where you couldn't get these Neo Geo games. So you release a mini that has all these games you really haven't been able to buy for 10 years. You could buy them each on like Virtual Console for $8 or $9 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
But like a collection like this just hadn't really existed. There'd been like one or two PS2 collections, but nothing quite as big.
Yeah, it's like there's the Namco Museum. There's not the SNK Museum.
Mm-hmm. So that's probably why it did so well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good quality. Like it actually emulated this stuff pretty well.
Yeah. In this picture, it has my least favorite controller of all time. The Neo Geo CD controller.
Nice. Mod adds Mario 64 dungeon to Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, it adds the, what is it, the Hazy Maze Cave level from Mario 64 into Ocarina of Time. And it's a little bit darker, because it uses kind of the palette that Zelda uses, but It looks pretty neat. It almost looks like someone used a level editor and just created the level. And the villains, like you don't have Goombas and stuff running around, but you have kind of the same puzzling happening. So it's pretty neat. It's kind of a mashup of the two.
Yeah. I wonder why they went that route instead of hacking Link into Mario 64.
That is a good question. This is the far more difficult path, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Nintendo Life, the 64 mate steps up its game with 64DD compatibility tower stacking. It is a difficult title to say.
It is, but this is so. Yeah, the 64 mate's kind of a neat. It's a storage system, so you can store. Like you're not getting. This whole episode. I'm sorry, I can't complete my sentence here. This whole episode is like badly written headlines because this makes it sound like you're getting 64DD compatibility for your Nintendo 64. That's not what this is. Right?
No,
this is a storage system.
Yeah.
So you could store something that looks like a 64DD. So like it's neat. It's kind of cool. It looks like the kind of thing you'd see in IKEA. You've been to an IKEA, right?
Oh yeah, there's one around here.
And you have kids, right? Obviously, you've been to an IKEA at some point. So yeah, like they have the fake Nintendo 64s in all their fake family rooms.
Mm.
That's what this sort of looks like, the fake IKEA Nintendo 64.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat storage unit for your. How many games is that? It's about 8 games you could fit underneath your 64 plus. Apparently, it says that this could also be used for hiding Because it's kind of two parts. There's a part I just said, the game storage, and then there's
Mhm.
the other part that looks the same, but you don't have storage. You don't have a spot for games unless that's just like something you put over so it hides the games. I don't know, but you can hide like HDMI cables and stuff like that in there. So if you're streaming with your Nintendo 64, the cables aren't everywhere, which
Mhm.
I guess it's a very small niche group of people you're really catering to there.
Yeah, I mean it's neat. I already have like a from back in the day drawer-based Nintendo 64 stacking thing, where it's like, those old things where you would put VHS tapes and you would slide the drawer out and there'd be VHS tapes. I have the Nintendo 64 equivalent of that.
Oh, I remember those, yeah. Getting my 64 working on my projector, probably only have about 10 or 15 games now for it, but I also have an EverDrive for it. So, I was going through some game, like flipping through the EverDrive, picking out a game to play, and I think I kind of held the 64 on a pedestal that it shouldn't be on.
Mhm.
I think it's a great system. Like, literally, the system itself is fantastic, but the catalog of games, I kept starting games and stopping them because I was instantly bored. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm reassessing my favorite games of all time list.
Let's see here. Another programming contest. So this is kind of a strange one. 2020 Basic 10-liner contest. So this is a contest to write the best 10-line basic program you can.
I cannot wait to see the finalists in this.
It seems now the site is in German, so that they do have an English translation on there too. The rules are it's open to all 8-bit computer systems. So whatever one you prefer to write in.
It cannot link to a library.
Right. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be back in our feature episode in March when they announce the finalists. Because, yeah, I'm really interested to see what you can do in 10 lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's a list of previous winners here, and unfortunately they don't have screenshots, they just have the names. But I mean, it seems like one of them's called 10-line Othello, which that seems pretty hard.
Yeah. That's cool.
Alrighty. So we talked about a game a couple episodes ago called Cooly Skunk, which was a Satellaview game that was recently found. It has already been translated to English. Now I know there's not a lot of text, so it's not like a huge accomplishment, I guess. But it's still good to have.
Yeah. And yeah, I think in that episode we already talked about doesn't look like the greatest game ever made. Like, it's good looking, but the gameplay kind of looks not the best. It already was on PlayStation also. I keep forgetting that.
Mm-hmm. So then another project over here on RetroRGB.com, which is how to build a connector, a mount, to connect a 32X to a CDX. So the CDX was, in fact, 32X compatible. Sega never received FCC approval to say it was compatible, which is kind of weird, but whatever. And this is how you can now build. This is just instructions on how to build, or schematics to build an adapter so you can plug your 32X into the CDX, which, by the way, would be a really awesome system. I would bring that to the hotel, the Atari branded hotel.
Yes, absolutely. And, full disclosure here, until reading, this is on RetroRGB, until reading this article, I thought the CDX just was not compatible with the 32X.
Oh.
Because there are a few retro stores around here, and in each one of them, they have a CDX for sale, like in a display. At one of them, it has a sign that says not 32X compatible. In the other one, I remember the guy telling me, well, if you want to play 32X games on that, you can't.
Yeah, they're
So
both
it
wrong.
was, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I've known that for you. That's wrong. Sega had to say that on the box because of FCC reasons, but it actually did work.
Well, this is, yeah, it's, you can actually download the zip file, which has the design files, to 3D print this mount for it. Yeah, it's minimal soldering required to create the cable. And then, yeah, it's just plastic or whatever 3D printers use. So it actually looks pretty neat. I kind of want this. But I would need a CDX first. Our strangest news of the week: Donkey Kong has mouths on his feet, and I hate it. No, that's not me saying hate. That's the writer of this article on Kotaku.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch. There's one specific model of Donkey Kong where the texture they used happens to render part of the mouth on Donkey Kong's feet, but since he's in a kart racer and you never see that part of his foot, you would never see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was some bug.
I
or
don't think
something,
this is
right?
canon.
No. So, which game? This was Mario Kart Wii.
Mario Kart Wii. This is more like it's more like cutting room floor material, really.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to be playing him in Smash and see mods on feet. Don't try to zoom in or something for that. But it is strange to look at. More news from Kotaku and more news about Ocarina of Time. There's a speedrun now that's under 10 minutes.
Yeah, did we talk about a Zelda speedrun recently, I think. About a new technique that cuts a lot of time off the speedrun. And I think it was still above 10 minutes when we last talked about it, and now they've officially figured out a way to get it down to under 10 minutes. I watched the speedrun. It is pretty... I mean, everything you do just looks so random.
Exactly. I kept thinking he was screwing up, but at the same time, it's funny because when you watch this, he didn't think it was going to work. It was the first time where this kind of warp actually worked. So you get to see the shocked look on this kid's face when he beats the world record, which is kind of cool to see. So I don't understand everything that happened in it, but yeah, it's a really cool video to watch.
Let's see. Nintendo originally wanted multiple parallel worlds for Link to the Past.
And they decided on two, Light and Dark.
Yeah. Yes, because they wanted to get the game released, I bet.
And they couldn't just figure out how to make the story work, too, you know? But I wonder what those other parallel worlds would have been, you know? I wonder if some of that got into, like, Majora's Mask, where he changed his form, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was something created by the Majora's Mask team because they were bored. That's kind of the story. Like, Majora's Mask was originally like a Ocarina of Time Master Quest sequel-y kind of game, and the team got really bored working on that. So they started, reshaping what the game was about.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, history repeats itself. That's what the next Breath of the Wild sequel was. They just had so many DLC ideas where they just said, all right, release 2, then let's just make the rest into a sequel.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I'm guessing we're close to getting actual news about that soon.
I hope so. I'm really excited for that. In more sequel news, this is not very retro, but new 2D Metroid and Paper Mario arriving on Switch this year. All right. I will always take a new 2D Metroid. I really liked that last one on 3DS.
Yeah, I wasn't real huge on that. It was good. I just wasn't like... I will probably never pick it up again.
Oh, yeah. But I had a lot of fun playing it. Paper Mario's not really my thing, but it might be now after playing a new one. You know, you never know. Never know what'll grab you. But yeah, that's something to look forward to. Always love seeing retro canon keep going. What do we have next?
Just the PlayStation sale that I talked about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And, wow, we got through a lot of news items there.
Yes. Next episode, there will be less.
Yeah,
Probably.
probably. Well, we already saved 4 or 5 for the next episode, so.
Yeah. All right. So topic. This one you picked out.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about DarkSoft. So, who or what is a DarkSoft? So, DarkSoft is a person who creates like SD card type gadgets you could use in retro systems. He's this guy out of Poland who also runs the Arcade Dash Projects forums, which is really cool if you're into arcade collecting and or trying to like consoleize arcade stuff. And a lot of console stuff in there. He also sells a lot of products that are like EverDrive type products. His big ones right now are like the multi AES and multi MVS Neo Geo SD card cards. And the reason why they're really nice is because they use an FPGA, an ARM processor, and DDR memory. So they're really really quick, really accurate. And how they work is you load all the Neo Geo ROMs into an SD card, put it in the cartridge, put that in your system, whether it's AES or MVS. MVS is the arcade version of Neo Geo's home system, and it allows you 3 slots. Slots meaning you preload the ROM into memory, so it's kind of a flashcard type situation. That makes sense to a lot of arcade people because you had like the 2 slot and the 4 slot and the 6 slot Neo Geo arcade cabs. And the reason why he does it like this is because it takes a while to flash something. So, there's a competing product, I think called the Neo SD. When you load a game in that, it can take up to 4 minutes. And I mean, in 2020, waiting 4 minutes for anything's kind of unheard of and unacceptable almost. The Neo SD is a great product. It's just a different way of doing things. But so with this, if you're not someone jumping around too many games, if you're picking your 2 or 3 games you're going to play that week, you just flash them and you're good to go. You could also make it so it boots up to that game. And then you could push, start left to go to the next game, start right to go to the previous game, or start up to load new games. It's a pretty cool system. He also has a multi-CPS2, which is something I actually own. It's a daughter... So CPS2, I should say, is Capcom's Street Fighter 2 motherboard set that goes into the, arcade cabinets. And it's just not Street Fighter 2... It's pretty much any Capcom game between, like, Street Fighter 2, whatever edition, Champion Hyper, I forget which one, all the way through up to Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 3 started CPS 3. Anyway, this is a daughter board you put on it, and it allows you to play any CPS 2 games, and there are countless. Mars Matrix, Pro Gear, what's the Mega Man Street Fighter 2 type game? Is that Battle Network? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, just many, many great games. The Darkstalker series, too. It loads instantly. It comes with a little LED thing that hooks up to it that has 2 buttons that you select your games with. You could consoleize this very easily, so you can have, like, real arcade Capcom at your TV. This is my favorite product of his. It was not very expensive at all. You do have to do some soldering. Can't recommend it enough. I had a Capcom 1801 before that, and this just blows out of the water. And it's flawless. You're running on real hardware. And then he has similar products for the SVT, which is Sega's arcade version of the Saturn, and the Taito F3, which is Taito's system for, like, I want to say, like, Bubble Bobble 3 and 4, and a few things like that. I can't really think of anything else that was on it. Maybe a few fighting games? I could be wrong. But, yeah, so other than hopefully more people buying these because they're very useful and um, uh, really really sturdy products that I would definitely put my stamp of approval on. I just wanted to bring up that not a lot of people know about these, and not a lot of people know about Arcade Projects, his forum. It's a great resource for if you want to build your own stuff. A lot of news in the emulating FPGA scene. Just a lot of great discussions. So I just thought I'd bring it up on the podcast. And if anyone has any experience with any of these, yeah, please email us. email@retrogameclub.net. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with their products either.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy. There's a lot of videos of him demoing stuff as he's building stuff. So he really kind of keeps you up to date on let's just say he does a better job than Atari does. So should we dive into some Game Club?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, mine's up there first, so I guess I'll keep talking, huh? So yeah, I chose Alien Syndrome, which is a Sega game from 1987 and ported to consoles and everything else between 88 and 92. And you could play one of two characters, or both if you like, if you have a friend to play with. And it's a run and gun isometric shooter that your space colleagues were taken hostage by aliens, and you have to save them before getting to the boss. And as soon as the level starts, a timer starts. It's like a time bomb. So you have to get to the end guy and beat the end guy before the time bomb goes off. I played the arcade version on MAME. It has really nice graphics for the time. They almost look 3D. It's kind of hard to explain why they look 3D, but they just do. Gameplay isn't great. The sound is almost off-putting. You know those games that just kind of have sounds that just make you feel weird? This is one of those. And then there were a few ports I played, the SMS and the Game Gear one. Not great at all, I don't think, other than the main bad guys in the arcade version almost look like pink and green blobs, where in the ports they almost look like xenomorphs, which I thought kind of worked better. Yeah, I should mention you could pick up Contra-like upgrades, like a fire gun or a laser, and then you could get R-type like little robots that follow you around and shoot in different directions, which really help. But yeah, I remember playing this in the arcade a few times. I was just thinking about it a few weeks ago and thought it'd be a fun Game Club game, and it really wasn't. So yeah, and I should mention this did get a PS2 port, which is very updated. I've never played it, but I watched some video of it, and it looked a lot better than this. So yeah, what's your experience with this one?
So I decided to play the Sega Master System version.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that one? Or did you know it existed? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty good effort for the Master System. Not really super close to the arcade. I mean, mechanically it is.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it looks quite a bit scaled down. But I think they did a good job porting it, because I don't think they tried to do a perfect one-for-one rendition of the arcade version, which is usually the right way to go with these things.
Yep.
And I thought it held up pretty well. There are a couple rooms that are kind of difficult because the aliens will spawn almost directly on top of the hostages.
Yes.
And I haven't played the arcade version in years, so I don't know if that's a problem there too. But there are quite a few where it's tough to get to people because there's an alien right on top of them.
The Master System version I actually think has better gameplay. Your hitbox is kind of weird, and it's kind of hard to tell where the aliens are going to go sometimes. And the SMS version, it was easier for me to navigate that, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, and also in the Master System version, I don't know, my strategy for a lot of the levels was just run through them as fast as I can. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
don't really try to fight the aliens or the little shooty head things, right? Just plow right to the hostage and get out.
Yeah, yeah. I should say you have to get like 10, right? And then the door to the boss opens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that's correct.
It's about right. Yeah, it was about 10. It doesn't have a counter on the screen. You have to go into the pause menu to see how many you have left.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget how it says it in the arcade version. Yeah, I think it just says it right there. Right on the screen.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't have a pause screen on the arcade.
Yeah, yeah. But this is ported to everything. It says on Wikipedia it was ported to NES, and I could not find that anywhere.
Oh, that had to be... I bet that was a Tengen version, right?
Oh man, it must have been. Yeah. Do a quick little eBay on that.
Yeah. It's definitely a Tengen game. And I might own this. I gotta go look.
$12 on eBay, $9. It's not bad, but yes, that's a Tengen logo and everything. Huh. I do not remember that. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. I did have a buddy that was playing this last week also, and he was kind of cursing me. He did not like the game, but he wanted to keep going with it. So
okay. Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
I was happy playing through a level or two and then moving on. It's not... I don't think it's a bad game.
Yeah. It kind of like many arcade games were back then. Like, yeah, I played a few times. It's fine. Well, yeah. What about your game?
So yeah, I played a little bit of Breath of Fire on Nintendo Switch. It's part of the Nintendo Switch subscription service. It's your basic kind of 16-bit RPG. You know, you start with a character and there's some evil stuff in the world and you have to go town to town to solve it. You do change characters a couple times. I think at some point, I'm not very far in the game because it was starting to turn into a little bit of a grind fest, so I took a break and maybe I'll go back to it. Well, I'll go back to it and I'll forget what I did and that'll be the end of it. But there's a lot of these 16-bit RPGs, they were kind of padded out by having a lot of fights, and you have to gain a lot of experience points to proceed. But actually, I found graphically, it's at least as good as some of the early Square games. I'd put it on par with Final Fantasy IV at least, maybe a little bit better than Final Fantasy IV in terms of graphics. Soundtrack is okay. Story's kind of interesting. I mean, your character blows up a town at the beginning of the game. This is one of the first quests. There's a town where there's some evil stuff happening, and you have to sneak in at night and essentially just destroy the entire town and everyone in it.
Why not?
Yeah, now that's the thing. It does have this day-night cycle. So when you're in the overworld, the palette changes over time to go from day, evening, night. And what's going on in the towns is different based on what time of day you go in. So that part's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The town, for example, that you have to, massacre everyone in. You have to go in at night because the guards all fall asleep. The night guards there aren't any good. You walk in, they're all asleep on the ground. So then you can make it down to the dungeon that has the gas line or whatever that, again, blows up everybody in the town, including presumably people who weren't doing anything evil.
How many hours do you think it would take to get through this?
I don't know.
You had to guess.
Let's see. Hold on. No, I'm not going to guess. I'm going to go to howlongtobeat.com.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that was a site.
Yeah, howlongtobeat.com. You've never been there?
No.
Oh.
But of course it's a site.
Of course. Main story, 25 hours. Main story plus extras, 29.5 hours. Completionist, 30.5 hours.
It's a pretty big game, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you ever heard of this site?
No.
I refer to this all the time before I start an RPG.
And I did not realize this got a 3DS release as well.
Was it the same game? Or was it just a game called Breath of Fire?
Well, Wikipedia says it's all the same. I mean,
Same game? Okay.
But it could be wrong. This did get sequels, a few, 6.
Mm-hmm. We're
Yeah,
into this. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, I
Rapid
was
Fire
gonna
2 is a
say-
little bit longer, and 4 I was looking. I'm still on howlongtobeat.com. I'm sorry.
I did not get far into this one, mostly with everything going on. I got through the intro and then spent a few minutes with it and said, I'll take care of this one at my lunch on YouTube. So I watched a lot of YouTube of it.
Yeah, I mean, I got through to where you start getting more. You basically lead character changes for a while. And that's where it really, because that character's a little bit weaker than the one you start with. But they have like 2 sidekicks. They have like 2 unnamed sidekicks. But you have to do a lot of grinding to keep them alive, it seems like. All right, so you want to tease what games we're doing next episode?
Sure, yeah. Because of my new plugged in, not emulated Nintendo 64, I'll be doing Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Possibly one of the best Star Wars games.
It is. Now, is there also a PS1 version of that? No, there is not. I'm thinking of the other Star Wars one with a similar name.
Which one is that?
It is not Rogue Leader, that's GameCube. I believe it might be Rebel Assault.
Oh. Let's see. There's Dark Forces, yeah, Rebel Assault. That's probably the one you're thinking of, yeah. Yeah,
it's like on multiple. It's on multiple discs, and yeah, I'll have to see. I think I own it. I'm pretty sure I own this game. Okay, and I'm gonna go back a little bit. And I'm gonna go with Frogger 2 for my next game.
Yeah, that's a fun game. I'm excited to dive back into that one.
Of course, it's a mystery. Which Frogger 2 am I talking about?
I know. Because isn't there one also on Nintendo 64?
I believe there is. Well, there's one on PlayStation. There's a game on PlayStation called Frogger 2, so it would tell me there's probably a game called Frogger 2 on Nintendo 64. And there, of course, is Frogger 2 on Atari 2600.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 2600 is the one I was thinking of.
Well, you'll find out next episode which one I'm thinking of.
I love it.
Yeah. So if people want to write about any of these games, how do they do that?
Yeah, please email us at email@retrogameclub.net. Write about these games, any games we played, any games you're playing, anything retro. Zach takes care of our social media, Facebook and Twitter. So pretty much every episode now he caters some lists, so he'll probably go on there, ask for some feedback, and he kind of picks randomly which ones get in our show notes. So, yeah, email at retrogameclub.net. We'd love to hear from you. And, yeah, you want to take the first email?
Yeah, I was just reordering it because I like to mess with people's emails. Completely misrepresent what they're saying. So, email from Majors talking about Super Mario Valentine's cards. Curious if we're getting too close to current social and political discussions with it. I have no idea if that's a topic anymore. I know, like, my oldest kid is well past the Valentine's age, and my youngest kid, I think, does not do Valentine's anymore because I don't know if it's because they were worried about bullying or because they don't want kids buying a bunch of cardboard that gets thrown away. Either's plausible. I don't really remember the story. I just know her school doesn't do it anymore. He also mentions he did not know that the One-Up Pinball was LCD at first either. He does know some people who have made 42-inch LCD tables that use Microsoft Connect, and that they actually turn out pretty good.
Yeah, you could see YouTube videos and stuff like that. This is a project I want to do sometime to do some virtual pinball. But yeah, it follows your eyes around, so it really has some depth to it. It's a great effect. It really is.
Let's see. Questions whether or not the 3DO was perhaps being marketed specifically at wealthy people back in the day, rather than not at mainstream gamers. And he worked at Babbage's back when the 3DO was still on sale, and that the Madden and FIFA games were pretty good. which I agree with. Like Madden was probably the top selling game we had at our location. And I don't know, like today I could see a high-end game console being marketed to rich people because of like Instagram. Does that make sense? Like I'm going to make this $2,000 game system and I'm going to like try and get like the Fire Festival types on Instagram to buy it.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could honestly see that today. Someone making like, the 3DO Gold or something. They're never going to play the thing. It's just a status symbol that you own this thing.
Yeah, you have to buy it. Yeah.
Right. When some reality show person bought the system, so now you have to have it. He also mentions I talked a little bit about getting clearance Sega CD games at, and he mentions at Blockbuster he got Wonder Dog for $5, which is a game I also bought on clearance for about $5. I should pick that as a game one day. That's a weird platformer.
I've never played that one, so please do. Yeah.
And then, okay, he with your new basement and the wall of toys and stuff, he wants to make sure you don't turn into one of those YouTubers with the wall of games behind them.
I don't have two things on that. I don't have enough stuff for that. And second, like I did for a little bit, but I don't collect to collect. I just kind of the stuff I sold in the past or whatever my mom put in garage sales. However, I don't have anymore. Those stuff that either I still do have or I've bought back. Those are the only things I collect. I don't try to do complete of anything. It's just nostalgia or things I like that will be in shelves. And the only reason why they'll be on shelves is because I have no other place to put them. It's either a shelf or a box, right?
Yeah. What else? Retrobit Saturn controller. Yeah, also agrees that the first Sega Saturn pad was not good, but the Model 2 revision was great. And that the Waffle Iron 3D pad looked like the Excelsior from Wrath of Khan.
Yes,
Should I mention I've never seen Wrath of Khan?
No, it's a great movie, and that's a really funny comment. Now I'll never be able to unsee that.
What, is that a spaceship?
Yes.
Okay. No, I've never seen a Star Trek movie. I saw like half of one that was about whales.
Yeah, see, that's probably the worst one. So, yeah.
Okay.
Wrath of Khan, great movie.
Okay. That's what I hear. Probably would like it. I just, it's this weird sort of black hole in my, like, sci-fi, interests. Power Glove documentary. I don't think I've seen the Power of Glove, but I recall another one about it. And then there's so we might have, because why would someone make two different documentaries about the Power Glove? There's a new documentary out called Not For Resale that talks about physical media. And it has it's at www.gamestoredoc.com. That actually sounds pretty cool. Hold on.
I want to see that. Yeah.
Oh, I hope this is... See the film. Let's go about. It's one of these sites with... you have to scroll a lot. Directed by Kevin J. James, supposedly. So I guess he has the initial because it's not that Kevin James. And yeah, it's looking at classic video game stores. Has interviews with... I recognize a few other podcasters, writers, Angry Video Game Nerd, Pat the NES Punk. Yeah. Looks all right.
Yeah, I would definitely watch this. It's like it was made for me.
I wonder what it is on right now. Does he make it up to... He should have gone up to that store in Sheboygan that I liked. PC Engine emulation topic. He has wondered how to pronounce Mednafen for a while. That's good. I don't think we know how to pronounce it either. And that he's been running Magic Engine for decades, and he does use PC EMU on the Android, and he says it's the only Android app he's actually paid for. I might have to try it now because I am really, really curious about being able to play. I don't know what TurboGrafx game I want to play on my phone, but it's more the novelty, I guess. Magazine ads for games that did not come out. He remembers seeing a Hellraiser game ad. And Color Dreams was making it. Oh, there you go. So Color Dreams is the one that then became... Wait. No, it's not. Was Color Dreams the one that then became the Wisdom Tree?
I have no idea.
I think it was. Oh, I'm sure I'm wrong. This is going off the top of my head. But yeah, one of these unlicensed game publishers. There's a really good boss battle book about it. And they're making these unlicensed NES games, doing okay, but then realized if they, Nintendo wasn't going to allow religious games on their systems, and that there was a market for religious games. So they started making unlicensed religious games instead to tap into that market. They themselves were not remotely religious, it sounds like.
Yeah, they did turn into Wisdom Tree. You are right.
Yeah. Yeah, now Wisdom Tree produced one game that I actually will argue is good. Even if you don't care for like the message behind it. Like they have like sort of a Zelda clone game that actually, one of the better games on the NES all around.
Hey, if it's fun, right?
Yeah. The rest of their games, not particularly good. About a couple Game Club games. Battle Royale, which I keep wanting to call Battle Royale, was not a big fan. And he said US exclusive TurboGrafx games tend to be a bad sign. There's also games like Falcon and Gunboat. I bet the TV sports games were US really exclusives too, right?
I don't know, but I like TV sports football a lot.
Okay. Well, like, it came from the desert on TurboGrafx CD. Had to be a US-only release, because it was all, like, it was heavy video, and unless it was originally dubbed in Japanese, it was by an American company, and I don't think there's a Japanese dub of it. And that's a very bizarre game. I like the game, but I understand most people not liking it. And then Alien Syndrome. He also mostly played on the Master System. But didn't really think it was that good. He does like the Alien theme, though.
Yeah. Majors, thanks for that email. Joe writes in. He's catching up on some topics. Speaking of game hoarding, there was a recent article in the New York Times that addresses the game collecting market. Apparently, some buyers from that $1 million game purchase have a vested interest in some kind of video game grading service. That kind of makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as WWF Royal Rumble, you remember the Sega game in arcades as well as Dreamcast? The arcade cabinet was the same Siamese cabinet as Title Fight, which I actually did not know that.
Mm-hmm. And
developed by the same people who did the SmackDown games. Royal Rumble runs on the same engine as the PlayStation SmackDown games. Huh. The Sega title was kind of disappointing when you compare it to the Nintendo 64, but it was still fun and more entertaining than the new WWE games. Probably way more. Well, depending on if you like bloopers, 2020 is supposed to be pretty funny.
Yeah, I've seen some clips of bugs and whatnot in that game. It does look pretty broken.
Laugh out loud entertainment. For an arcade style game, you can't beat WrestleFest. I forgot about that one. It had the best depiction of a Royal Rumble ever, and they're making a spiritual sequel in the form of an indie game called Retromania Wrestling that looks pretty good. Oh, yeah. I did not know about that.
I think on the Retro Hour they talked about that recently. I feel like they might have. I remember it was like, I think it might have been a crowdfunding campaign originally. Let's see. We had Adam writes in to talk about some filler games. Similar to my Final Fantasy VI pick. He's got Lunar Silver Star Story, Breakout, and Shining Force Classics.
So yes, thank you, Joe and Adam, for those emails.
Lunar is another one of these games that I keep rebuying. I own, I'm guessing, 3 versions of Lunar. I think there's more than 3 that have been made, but I own at least 3 versions.
Yeah, Space Harrier is the game that for some reason I need on every system.
Do you have it on 32X yet?
Yes, oh yeah.
Okay.
It's probably the best version. Zach picked some social media comments. So the first one is for game levels or bosses that you just can't beat. I'm going to interject mine, which is the Yellow Devil from Mega Man.
Mhm.
Without the pause cheat, I could never beat him. Even knowing how, I just can't get it.
Yeah, I'll say mine is Mike Tyson, even with like massive save state abuse. I don't think I've ever won a fight against Mike Tyson.
That's right for me too. Yeah. Where you see someone else do it, and it's like a magic trick. Brian says the Technodome level on TMNT. Yeah, that's difficult. Borna says Ninja Gaiden's final boss, which I don't even know if I've gotten to the final boss in the first Ninja Gaiden. Peter says Ghosts and Goblins, which, yes, I think for one of our first episodes I complained about how bad I am at that game. From Twitter, WTF Famicom says he can't beat Mickey Mania because his cartridge is broken. I don't know what that means, but it's kind of funny. And then a Twitter reply from Filler Games, Noise from the Basement, says he tends to play NES or 2600 games when you really have to kill some time, because you could really just pick one up, put it in, put it down right when you're done. So yeah, thank you everyone for all those.
Yeah, and again, email at retrogameclub.net.
So please write us. I think that wraps up Season 2, Episode 6, right?
Yeah, so thanks for listening.
Thank you.